You're listening to Choosefi Radio. The blueprint for financial independence lives here. If you're looking to unlock the secrets to financial independence and early retirement, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and join a community of like-minded people who are getting off the hamster wheel and taking control of their lives in the pursuit of financial independence. Choosefi, your home for financial independence online.
All right, everyone, we've got a lot of cool stuff we're going to dive into. Big, full mailbag today. We're going to answer a couple questions about Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks. And to help me with this, I have my co-host Brad here with me today. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Jonathan, I am doing quite well. What's going on by you?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pass my little updates about what's going on in the world over to MK, because I think, MK, your world got very interesting. You made a big announcement on Facebook. Let's go ahead and announce it on the podcast.
Yeah. So Jason and I are expecting our first baby in November.
Oh,
That was our big, exciting
Nice.
announcement last week.
awesome.
And to go with it, I finally can eat food again. Yay!
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm
Yes.
all caught up right now. So is this like you guys got a great baby name picked out, like little baby Covidia or something like that? Like,
Absolutely not. So yeah, we're not going to find out until the baby's born.
Ooh.
So I am in charge of picking out girl names. Jason is in charge of picking out boy names. So I'm kind of rooting for Team Girl right now, because
But
Jason
since nobody
is obviously being
knows, we should just all
crazy.
send you diapers. Is that the plan?
Yes.
Or gift
Yes.
cards? Gift cards work too?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're telling people is we are open to all hand-me-downs, extras, leftovers. And because we're, of course, super nerdy people, we have been tracking every additional expense so far. So, usually we don't buy colas, we don't buy extra little snacks. And I was like, I really need ginger ale and just like some Ritz crackers just to like help my tummy those first few months. And Jason was like, okay, these are baby costs. Like they're getting quoted this way on our budget.
The
So,
ginger ale is going on the list. I like
yeah,
That's not going
so
to the
we
food
will know
side.
exactly
this is
how
baby
much.
related.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
so
So yeah, so we're just going to be tracking everything, and of course, when they turn 18, we will be handing them a bill. No, just kidding, maybe.
So I'm
we'll
gonna
see.
I'm gonna front load this by saying that we did find out the gender of our baby ahead of time, but Brad has very strong feelings on why you should go the other way. And I feel anytime a new baby is entering the world, I should give him the floor to talk about why you should not find out the gender ahead of time. Brad, take it away.
You're going to make me do this on the podcast, Jonathan. Well, first, I'd like to say that it's personal preference, so I'm not not casting aspersions on anyone. But yeah, Laura and I felt
Strongly.
very strongly, extraordinarily strongly, that there are very few true, genuine surprises in life. And for us, the benefits, how we saw it was like, okay, we could paint a room blue or pink or get some baby clothes if we knew the gender beforehand. Or we could get this unbelievable surprise at the time, the baby was born. So for us, it was an absolute no-brainer. And yeah, for both of our kids, we were surprised and they both came out little baby girls. And it was, wonderful. We did have names picked out for each. But
Oh, if it was a boy, what was the name? What are the unused boy names?
So yeah, James was always a fan favorite of mine. And I honestly don't remember now. Laura's going to be annoyed at me that I can't remember, but I know James was certainly in the top 2 for each time.
All right.
Actually, I think Christopher was
Oh, okay.
one of them. Yeah, so wow, that takes me back. It's hard to believe my youngest is already 8. It's been a long time.
Molly and Anna are growing up fast. James and Christopher still on the sidelines there. So MK.
Indeed. MK, yeah,
Huge.
huge congrats. That's amazing.
We're excited for you.
Thank you.
All right. So this week we have some pretty cool episodes that got released this past week on Monday. Bianca's episode, There Is No Failing with Fi. I tell you, we recorded that. I believe we recorded it in February. And clearly this is an episode that had a focus about the industry, the job market as a flight attendant. And I can't imagine a month that was more disruptive. I mean, maybe since 9/11, which she was actually referencing was the beginning of her career, that's been more disruptive for that entire industry. What's interesting is out of crisis, she achieved financial independence. And probably there are those of us right now, even in this audience, that have gotten punched in the face financially and have had some of our dreams and our plans for the year and next couple of years ripped away from us. And it's just a sense of like everything is falling apart. Nothing is that we thought was going to happen is happening. And our plans and hopes for financial independence have never been farther away. And yet we persist, right? And I think it's incredibly useful to realize that you're not the first person to get punched in the face. And you're not the first person to have their plans ripped away. But if your superpower is the foundation of financial independence, it is that foundation that is going to make this an inevitability, not just the fact that you had a really good year or a really good 2 years. Bianca's story illustrated this perfectly.
Yeah, agreed. And it's interesting that we're talking about, obviously, major financial disruption. You know, the very first time that she went through this. I mean, like you said, if she could reach financial independence in a abbreviated time amidst all of that, right? Amidst these properties, amidst the foreclosures, right? Like anybody can over a time period. And like you said, it's the backbone concepts of FI. Save a significant amount of money. Spend less than you earn, right? Like it's not rocket science at its heart. It's when you do that month after month, year after year, you can reach financial independence in a sub 20-year time frame, even amongst the worst of scenarios. I mean, amongst the best of scenarios, we've seen people reach it in 5, 7, 10 years. I mean, that's not inconceivable. But Bianca is at a point where she has her entire life ahead of her, and she's at a point of financial independence, even amidst multiple financial crises and in just her investing adult lifetime. I mean, it's remarkable. And that should give hope to everyone going through what we're going through now, right? Even though obviously at the time of recording, the stock market is up to a large part back where it was. I mean, it's still down a small amount, but I mean, we've seen disruption. Obviously, jobs have been lost, and nobody likes disruption at its heart. But you prove to yourself how resilient you are. You prove to yourself that you can do this again, month after month, year after year, and we're all going to come out of this on the positive side. And it's just a matter of sticking with it and having that resilience and just continuing to believe and work hard at this.
So, Brad, the other episode that we had this week was with Fritz, and we were basically breaking down his bucket strategy. This was actually the second part in the series that we've done with him. Last week, we did an episode looking at the mindset shift, everything that changes when you're walking away from, your career path to go into this next chapter. And what's cool about this is the audience, the financial independence community, has become a very big tent. And there are people at all stages on the path to financial independence, people that are trying to reach financial independence in their mid-30s, people that are recognizing they are financially independent, and it's just a matter of time before they walk away from their jobs, and it's more of a traditional thing, but they now have a common language to use to say, wow, I'm actually here. Fritz's episode, no matter where you are on the path, that information is going to be incredibly valuable for you. And it was tied to his brand new book that was coming out, Keys to a Successful Retirement. Fritz has been gracious enough to do a live event with us in the past. And I know, Brad, live events are a really big focus that you're really leaning into right now, along with Jennifer. And I know we're going to be setting up another event with Fritz, but I believe you just had one this weekend that was incredibly impactful for the community.
Yeah, agreed. Well, there's a lot there, Jonathan. We have been focusing significantly on these live events, and they've been fantastic. It's really amazing. I mean, we've had many, many thousands of views on each of them, and we've been really fortunate to have just a star-studded lineup of guests and real subject matter experts. And yeah, like you said, we had Fritz on an episode with Roger Whitney, the retirement answer man, and that was, really hard-hitting, in-depth knowledge. And the great thing is, for the community, you have questions that pertain to you, and you can come on and ask them in real time, right? And it has really been interesting to see. I know Jennifer did an episode with Paul Merriman that was, I think, 3+ hours. Just him fielding questions, going over an entire presentation. And yeah, we are committed to doing these going forward. I think Jen and I actually talked yesterday, and Jennifer is fantastic. She's our community manager, and she helps me moderate these and host them. And starting in June, the plan is to actually do 2 of these a week. So we don't have the exact details yet. I promise we will have them very shortly, but we're going to do pretty much like 1 a week. That's just going to be kind of come and hang out with me and Jen and it'll just be a nice Q&A, kind of just like a happy hour coffee type thing, coffee with Brad or some such. And then we're going to have one a week that's going to be a real in-depth episode with a guest. And we have Liz from Frugalwoods coming on soon. We're going to get Fritz and Roger Whitney back again. We have hopefully one in the works with Paul Merriman again, Rick Ferry, and JL Collins, which would be phenomenal. So yeah, we've got some real good ones coming up. And you can find those all at choosefi.com/live. So all the past events we have, you can click on them and watch the recording. And any new ones that are upcoming, we'll have the links there. So we are committed to keeping that choosefi.com/live updated, which is great. And yeah, to your question, we had Sean Mullaney on this past Saturday. And as always, Sean just brings it. He is the tax expert for Choosefi, and we're just really, really fortunate to have him as a member of our community and as just such a helpful resource, Jonathan, for all of us here at Choosefi.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. The longer we spend around Sean, I don't want to disparage you, Brad, but the more I realize the limitations of your knowledge base.
Thank you, buddy. I am a former CPA, is how I consider myself. Just enough knowledge to be dangerous.
No, what's great, I mean, with Sean, like we both have these comfort levels. Usually as something pertains to our own lives, we are able to get to an answer that's relatively accurate because it serves us, right? But accounting is a pretty vast space, and there's a lot to know, a lot of niche and very particular situations to understand. And as soon as you move out of your comfort zone, I mean, you're out there in the wilderness just hoping that you'll find some water. Sean he knows where to go. He knows the information. He has it on lockdown. He's done his research. He's prepared. He understands the nuance. And what's interesting is, so a question came up this past Saturday on that live event that has kind of been rattling around in my brain for a while, and I didn't exactly know what the question was and then what the answer for that would be. And it pertained to Roth 401ks. And every time that I would have the opportunity to ask him a question, I wouldn't have written it down and I wouldn't be able to, I just couldn't connect the two together. But we had a listener send us almost the exact question that I was trying to remember. And we were able to have Sean take a stab at that and gave us a great answer on this. And it pertains to Roth 401k. So MK, I know this question landed in your inbox. Why don't you set us up? What was first question in the mailbag? What do you got for us?
So we actually had several listeners ask about the Roth 401k to Roth IRA conversion options. So again, the subset of people who have access to the Roth 401k wanting to know, well, when I leave this job, usually you roll over your 401k to an IRA. Well, how does this work? Roth 401k to Roth IRA. So Sean gave us this really great short story. He says he's going to be doing a blog post on it on the FITaxGuy.com, his blog. But the high points are this. Distributions from Roth 401ks are not the same as distributions from Roth IRAs. So with Roth IRAs, contributions come out first tax and penalty free. With Roth 401ks, distributions are subject to the so-called cream in the coffee rule. All distributions take out contributions and earnings, which is bad news. The earnings piece is taxable and likely subject to the 10% penalty. So I know we talked about this on the live and we've talked about this previously. Any of your contributions to the Roth IRA, you can take out at any time. It's only the earnings that would, be subject to any of the other rules. So what Sean is saying is for the Roth 401k, that's not the case. He says, as a practical matter, the employer may not allow in-service Roth 401k distributions. Rolling a Roth 401k to a Roth IRA can largely solve the above problem. If you're under age 59 and a half or have not held the Roth 401k for 5 years, the contributions to the Roth 401k go into the Roth IRA as contributions, i.e. they can be withdrawn tax-free, and the growth rate goes into the Roth IRA as earnings. If you are both 59 and a half or older, and you have had that Roth 401k for 5 years, if you roll the Roth 401k to a Roth IRA, it all goes in as contributions. You can roll the Roth 401k into a Roth IRA, but you cannot roll a Roth IRA into a Roth 401k. So those are just the high points he gave. And he did talk about this quite a bit on the live on Saturday. So this is definitely a great one to go back and rewatch that live as well. And just, Sean is very good at mentioning his blog, and he's, modest. He wants to answer everybody's questions, but definitely check out his blog. He's going to have a lot more details on there as well.
Yeah, this is one of those vehicles that it's such an interesting one. For the vast majority of people, I think once you understand the math and once you're in just even a relatively higher marginal tax bracket, you're going to just want to go with the 401k just to defer your taxes on this amount. It might make sense for some individuals in a much lower marginal tax bracket to consider it. But a lot of the FI strategies that we talk about kind of shift a little bit if you're now picking this Roth 401k instead of a traditional 401k. What I wanted to mention there is, for those of you that have straggler accounts, like I believe even Jason has at some point in his past has a Roth 401k. Your husband has a Roth 401k for some portion of it.
Yes.
Then you're like, all right, well, what do I do with this? Like all the articles I've read online, all of them have to do with how to optimize a traditional 401k, that you would normally think of. Is there anything that I can do with this or anything that I should know? And in that case, information like this, although it kind of breaks your mind the first time you hear it, it's probably worth investing a little bit more time, checking out Sean's article, rewatching that live, which you can find at choosefi.com/live, to kind of understand how that Roth 401k that you have, how that is going to fit into your financial planning. And Brad, do you have any additional thoughts or summaries on what Sean was just addressing?
Yeah, there's certainly a lot there. And I do want to slow down because on that live, it's always interesting when you see people's reactions to individual items of information, right? And I found that there were, probably a dozen people who were just blown away with the knowledge that, like we said before, MK, you said that when you contribute to your Roth IRA, that you can pull out those contributions at any time, okay? That's tax and penalty free at any time.
But wait, don't I pay a penalty if I pull out a contribution before 59 and a half? There's a penalty.
Yeah, not with a Roth IRA. So contributions can come out at any time, completely tax and penalty free, even if you're younger than 59 and a half. Now, obviously, in a perfect world, we would not advocate that. But it's important to know that for people who you have extra money lying around, maybe you've filled up your emergency fund and you're trying to decide, do I add to my emergency fund? Do I put it in Vanguard or some such? Or I think I might need this at some point, but I probably won't. I really probably won't. You can put it into a Roth IRA because you always have that last ditch thing that you can pull out that contribution. Right now for 2020, it is $6,000 and the actual income limits are pretty generous. It looks like for married filing joint, your modified adjusted gross income, if it's under $193,000, which is significant, obviously, you can contribute to the Roth IRA. So it's nice just in the back of your mind knowing, okay, I can pull this money out at some point. So again, we do not advocate that. In an ideal world, you let this roll for 50 plus years, but that's a pretty cool thing. And I know, like I said, a lot of people were blown away by it. So I really wanted to slow down on that.
All right. So I just want to talk about this eligibility limits and how the standard deduction works into that for people so they actually have a better sense of what they can earn and still be eligible through the front door, the regular door, not the back door Roth, just the regular contributions to the Roth IRA. Is that $193,000 plus the standard deduction? Is that accurate, Brad?
Yeah, Jonathan, great question. So the adjusted gross income is actually before itemized or standard deductions. It's before any credits are taken into account or exempt, and any of that kind of stuff. So you can actually look on your tax return. It looks like for 2019, it's 1040, page 1, line 8B, B as in boy, is adjusted gross income. So now there are some slight adjustments to get your modified adjusted gross income. So you take your AGI, like I said, that adjusted gross income, which is on line 8B of page 1, and you add back some items like any deductions you took for IRA contributions, taxable Social Security payments, some qualified tuition expenses, some other little random items, rental losses and things like that. But you can certainly just Google the list for add backs for modified adjusted gross income.
No, that's a great point. So I wanted what you didn't mention there for individual. I'm just thinking like who is eligible to contribute to a Roth in the traditional manner. And the vast majority of our audience would be eligible to. So you mentioned this number of if you make $193,000 or less modified adjusted gross income, you can contribute $6,000 for yourself and $6,000 for your spouse if you're married to a Roth IRA. So $12,000 a year could go into a Roth IRA. But in reality, assuming this individual is up at these higher, income, right? They're making this sort of income anyways. It's actually, I think it would be a little bit higher because you can also contribute to your 401k to drop your income down. So you'd be able to add an extra, in terms of what your income could be, $19,500 for yourself, $19,500 for your spouse. So in reality, like someone could make $232,000-ish. And as long as they max out their 401ks first, order of operations here, they would then still be eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA. Is that accurate, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly from the research that I've done, that appears to be accurate. Oh, actually, that 193 is actually 196,000 for 2020. It's interesting. All these articles, because we're in filing season for 2019, they still have that information. So it's actually 196. So yeah, it does not appear, I think just by virtue of how your employee contributions work for your regular 401k, it does not appear that that gets added back for modified adjusted gross income. Now, I will continue to do research on that, but I see nothing that suggests that that gets added back. So yeah, like you said, you would potentially be able to make gross income of $235,000 in 2020 and still be able to contribute to your Roth IRA. So, that's again, if married filing joint, if both of you are maxing out the $19,500 on your regular 401k.
And if we really wanted to optimize it, I know there's someone out there thinking, oh, but I'm doing this too. Are they going to mention that?
Oh, I'm sure.
You
Plenty
could throw
of other things.
The HSA, right? You could also max out your HSA and have that as an add back as well. And what's the limit on that? Like $7,000 a year right now? Something.
Yeah,
so that takes you up to $242,000. So just that lucky individual, right? That has, just under $250,000 of income between them and their spouse. And I realize there's plenty of people that aren't making that, but we're just playing with the numbers here in terms of the tax law. Those individuals, what you would do would be, all right, well, let's max out our 401ks. All right, now let's max out our HSA. We're dropping that modified adjusted gross income. Now doing both of those is now getting us inside the threshold to make us eligible to max out our Roth IRA. Now we're maxing out $12,000 in our Roth IRA, and we're saying, oh, you know what? Even though we could keep this money, in theory, this is kind of our emergency fund money. Well, let's just go ahead and put that in a Roth, because in the very worst case scenario where we needed it, we can get these contributions back. One tiny nuance to add here for those of you that are paying attention, though, although you can get your contributions back penalty-free, right? There's no penalty. If you did decide to do that, you are now wiping away your ability to contribute that amount for the year. You've used up your $6,000 a year per person in contributions, so you can't claw back and say, oh, I donated $10,000 a couple years ago. Can I go put that money back in for that year? No, that's gone. So, that's fine. If you need the money, you need the money, but we wouldn't want to dip into this money super callously. It would be a very intentional play because we'd run out of some of our other options. But you can, and you can do it without penalty. So, Brad, thanks for highlighting that. I know we've mentioned it a couple times over the years, but clearly that live is highlighting the fact that that's still not widely common knowledge.
Yeah, Jonathan, it is interesting that, just really dialing into these things that they might not be common knowledge. And another one that Sean brought up, and I want to dive into this next week, is the retirement savers credit, which I honestly had never heard before. And it looks like based on certain income limitations, if you contribute to retirement accounts, you can actually get a credit, which is a dollar for dollar reduction in your tax liability based on what you contributed to your retirement vehicle. So yeah, we're going to dive into that really significantly next week on the mailbag.
Very cool. All right, MK, what else do you have for us this week?
Well, we have a lot of exciting announcements to bring to our audience. The first of which is that our third book from Choosefi Publishing, The Golden Albatross by Grumpus Maximus, is now available on pre-order.
Yeah, this really is cool. So first of all, just the fact that there is Choosefi Publishing makes my heart warm. It's really cool to be able to partner with these individuals to bring these books to our audience. And these, we're not just publishing any book under the sun, right? These are ones that are inside of our niche that help people reach financial independence, that take, all the research that's out there and distill it down to an action plan for this particular topic that you're focusing on. So in our case, it was like this blueprint to financial independence. With Rob and the Simple Startup, it's entrepreneurship and a boot camp for pursuing that. And now with this book with Grumpus, The Golden Albatross. This is a deep dive into the world of pensions, and specifically, not just generically or academically, all the fascinating history about them, but practically for you that have one, how do you make that decision to stay or go? And Brad, I mean, I would never have imagined reading a book on pensions and enjoying it, one, but two, seeing such clear value for anyone that finds themselves at this 10-year inflection point.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. This was an intensely personal and readable book. I mean, that's, you hear a book about pensions, and I got to be honest, I wanted to run the other way, but I loved reading it, and I have no pension. I have nothing to do with this. And it was just an enjoyable book, frankly. So for anybody out there who actually has a pension, this is a no-brainer. And yeah, I mean, he really dives into the worth of your pension, what it's actually worth versus is it worth it, right? Like you said, there's this inflection point of I put in these number of years, is it worth it to stick it out? And I was really, really impressed with how he laid this out. So highly, highly recommend the book.
And to individuals out there, I mean, I think we all kind of at some level understand that not all pensions are created equal. But what are the questions that you need to ask, and where do you get the information? How do you aggregate that to put some sort of metric beside that so you really understand what you're looking at and what those next 10 years of your life represents? I promise you'll come out of this book with a plan. So MK, where are we at on the book? How can people find out more information?
Yeah, so you can find out more information on the book at choosefi.com/pension. Also, if you navigate to our homepage, find our publishing site, go through there. But to quickly get there, choosefi.com/pension has all the details for where you can purchase the book. It's available in ebook, paperback, hardcover. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the major retailers. The book releases on July 1st. So we're in this pre-order period now, which means you can order the book and it will be delivered to you on July 1st. Now, right now with everything going on with COVID, we know that a lot of distribution shipment centers are having to limit their staff, limit their hours for safety for everybody. So it is more important now to pre-order than it has been before to make sure that you do get your book on time for that July 1st release date. So you can order it now. I know I've ordered just other random things from Amazon and they've been delayed. And I said, okay, I understand why, but definitely go and Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you get your books, search for The Golden Albatross by Grumpus Maximus, and it'll show up and you can purchase it or purchase it for somebody in your life who has a pension if you don't have one. So that's teachers, firefighters, police officers, military. So it's a large group of people who could benefit from this information.
Awesome. So again, just go to choosefi.com/pension, put in your pre-order today. We are going to be releasing an episode right around the launch of the book as well, which will go into some of the information that we just discussed today, but very excited to be able to say this is now available for pre-order. It will be valuable for you. I know we mentioned just a second ago, The Simple Startup, which is Rob Phelan's book talking about entrepreneurship and an entrepreneurship boot camp. We actually have another announcement related to a summer camp, a digital summer camp. Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this. So Rob is a teacher, his full-time profession, in addition to writing this book. And he knows that a lot of parents' plans for their kids this summer were to send them to some kind of a day camp, summer camp, because they need childcare, plus they want their kids to learn something, right? Well, a lot of those plans were completely blown up because schools are closed. A lot of these programs aren't going to be happening now. So he is going to be offering a digital summer camp to work through the Simple Startup with your child over 5 weeks. It'll be 2 video sessions a week plus a live session for Q&A at the end of the week. So each student who participates will get access to all of these as well as a workbook. And hopefully by the end of the camp, they'll be working on their own business and learning these great lifelong skills that'll be able to help them. So the digital summer camp starts at the end of June, on June 29th, but you can sign up for early bird registration now. So between today, May 22nd, and May 31st, we're offering $10 off of registration for early birds to make sure that we can get, obviously, the workbook to you on time for the camp to start. Obviously, between June 1st and June 29th, if you sign up, you can still join. It'll just be the full price. So you can head to choosefi.com/camp to learn all about this great digital summer camp for your student and how they can start their business this summer.
Now, Brad, that would be time well spent.
100% time well spent. I mentioned on a prior episode that I started the Simple Startup with both my daughters, Molly and Anna, and it was like this transformative experience for my little one, especially Molly. 8 years old, and she just lit up. And I mean, I got to be honest, I think we're going to sign our girls up for this summer camp. I mean, they got so much out of doing it with me. I can only imagine how much more they'd get out of doing it with Rob. So yeah, this is really, really cool. And I mean, frankly, I didn't even know we were doing this until right now. So I'm super excited about this.
Well, I tell you what, if you want to prepare your kids for the future, your kid may not need to become an entrepreneur. That may not be their path, but every single child should think like an entrepreneur, should have some of that training. And the way our education is structured really to this point, it doesn't foster that. And so this is a great opportunity. This is a great skill set. I think this is something you'll look back and you'll treasure, you'll value that you invested this time and energy into allowing them to do this. So, yep. For more information, go to choosefi.com/camp. Is that right, MK?
Exactly. Choosefi.com/camp. And again, if you register between today, May 22nd, and May 31st, which is not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday, you get $10 off with code EARLY. So just the word EARLY to get $10 off.
Awesome. Now there is a charge related to this, but I believe we also have an announcement about a free resource that was shared with us from someone in our audience. Do you want to go ahead and tee that up as well?
Yes. So for the adult learner, for all of us, so Susan shared with us about free online college classes. So she writes, time-sensitive information. My daughter is active duty Army, and this information was supposedly vetted by her upper command. So pretty credible if upper command is telling her daughter this is good to go. The link below is regarding sophia.org, which allows for free educational classes over a limited amount of time, all online, as many as you're able to take in the time limited period. She says she doesn't really recall the time frame offhand. I looked on the website. So these courses are free through the end of July 2020 because of what's going on with COVID right now. So they're offering free access to these courses for college credit through July 31st, 2020. Now, they list the colleges that they're partnered with. So not every college is going to accept these credits, but if you are looking at enrolling in any of the colleges that participate, you can take these free courses. I mean, it's introduction to ethics, microeconomics, macroeconomics, these college level courses, that can save you a lot of money down the line getting these credits out of the way. So definitely a big thank you to Susan for writing in and telling us about this offer. But she did mention time sensitive. These are free through July 31st, 2020.
Wow. It's free online college courses and for credit. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Wow. Brad, it's so interesting. You tagged me on this thread, and I think it was Rocky Lalvani from Richer Soul was talking about how this fall colleges are in this incredible conundrum with regards to how they're marketing the value of online classes, keeping in mind that really they're marketing it this way for 1 year. And do you remember exactly what he said?
Yeah, this was an interesting post by Rocky, certainly. It was basically that traditional colleges charging $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year have to now sell their value in a period of time where they're competing basically with free courses that are substantially similar, if not identical, if not better, maybe in some cases. And this is actually a really interesting thing here on this sophia.org. I'd never heard of this site before, but yeah, I mean, they have, it looks like 30 plus courses in just completely free, from accounting to English composition to art history to college algebra. And I mean, I'm seeing some here like with 3,000 5-star reviews. So yeah, I mean, this is really cool. And it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens with colleges here in America. And, we've talked about this before, Jonathan. I don't want to get up on my soapbox again, but I mean, when they have to compete with free, and not just garbage free, but something that thousands upon thousands, if probably tens of thousands of people have gone through, that's a hard sell to then come back and say, okay, you've got to pay $70,000 a year for this now, right?
Oh my goodness, it really is. So you're selling your competition's model for 12 months, potentially trying to say that it's worth the value you were already paying. So at the same price, but we're going to go remote. We're going to do it the way the competition does it. And then 12 months from now, after you've proved out that it can be done that way, you're like, all right, now everybody come back on campus. Whew. All right, let's talk about the pivot right there. So I want to pivot, actually, speaking of, and talk about life insurance. We got a question about life insurance from Margot. MK.
Yeah, so I was very interested in this question. So Margot writes, I'm expecting my first child and was wondering if it's a good idea for my spouse and I to buy a life insurance policy outside of our term life insurance policies through work before the baby is born or after the baby is born. Unsure whether there are any major differences. I appreciate any tips. Thanks, Margot.
Yeah, Brad, I'll give this one over to you, but just it shouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of your actual cost, assuming you don't have any pre-existing conditions and you're purchasing this in your mid-30s, early 40s. I mean, you can get it later, but just honestly, a term policy with no pre-existing conditions in your mid-30s, early 40s for 20 or 30 years for $1 million, $2 million, $3 million is insanely cheap. And it will not make a large difference one way or the other to the degree that you would need to optimize it. Let me get it before or after. I know, Brad, when I priced mine out recently, I did it with Policy Genius is who we used. And for I believe it was either a $1 or $2 million policy, it was less than $50 a month for a 20-year term. Just shockingly inexpensive for what you get.
Yeah, agreed. And this is a great question from Margot. In any of the research and any of the experiences that I've had personally, I do not think there's any impact at all on your actual term life insurance policy, whether you have children or not. I think it is just based on pretty much the actuarial tables of how old you are and how healthy. So when I've had my term life insurance, when I've gone for new term life insurance policies, they actually send someone from, one of those kind of mobile, I don't even know what you'd call it, mobile care. Like they pull some blood, they, take your vital signs and that kind of stuff. And obviously you have to answer a whole bunch of questions. So for me, what we did was we got life insurance. And of course, this is personal preference, but Laura and I each got term life insurance right around, I frankly cannot remember since it's almost 12 years ago, but right around the time that our oldest daughter, Anna, was born. So, basically for me, it's when you have people dependent on you, dependent on your wages, dependent on the amount of money you bring in, I personally think there's value in having a term life insurance policy. For me, it's peace of mind, significant peace of mind. If, something terrible happened to me, I got hit by the proverbial bus, and my family was relying on my income, if I can pay, I think we got at the time, it was like a $500,000 policy, and it was maybe $300 a year. So, in your parlance, Jonathan, it's $25 a month. That to me is pretty darn good security for $25 a month when I think about, other things that we spend $25 a month on. So yeah, I mean, our choice was to get this when we had our first child, though frankly, we could have made the case that when we first got married, especially because at that point we were 25, 26. If we got a 30-year term policy, we would have been in basically the lowest risk, and maybe our policy would have been slightly cheaper still. But yeah, I mean, in general terms, the younger you get this and the healthier you are, the less expensive your term life insurance policy is going to be each month or year.
Right. And just for individuals out there, because I mean, again, for individuals that are relatively new to the show, maybe you haven't heard us rant about life insurance and the various forms thereof. For the vast majority of everyone listening to this show, just a common sense term policy should be acquired to protect you. And what a term does is you don't need life insurance for your whole life. You need it until you reach financial independence. And you don't need life insurance for yourself. It's to protect your loved ones in case you were to pass away before you reach financial independence. And basically, financial independence says that you could replace your income for the rest of your life. So if you've reached financial independence, then if you were to pass away, your dependents will have, you'll have already hit your number. They'll have that. They don't need life insurance. So with that in mind, we want to get a great policy that protects our loved ones in the gap, right? Before we reach financial independence, we want to have something in place that if an accident were to happen, we were to lose our life, they would not need to worry about the fact that we hadn't quite hit our number. And so, for those of us getting started, a $1 million, $2 million policy is likely going to be perfectly sufficient. And what's cool about this is as your net worth grows and grows, your need for that policy grows less and less. If you may decide to hold it because it's not even worth it to cancel. It'd be a nice extra cushion if something bad were to happen. It doesn't cost a whole lot. There's totally reasonable reasons to keep it. But my mental framework has been, all right, what's my FI number, right? And I get that just over time. What's my net worth right now? The difference there is what I need to supplement with a great term policy. And so while you could certainly have more than that, that's just kind of like how I would do the quick calculation and then just go get a quote and see what you need. So, for instance, if your number you need to be financially independent is 1.5 million, you have $500,000 saved up, a $1 million 20-year policy. If you think that you're going to be financially independent within the next 20 years, then a $1 million 20-year term policy would likely be a great choice just to cover you in the gap until you actually get your number. And that is not, if you're purchasing this relatively early on in your investing journey and your life journey, $20-$30 a month, it's not going to be that bad. So definitely do that. I use Policy Genius. They did exactly what Brad mentioned. So Policy Genius acts as a broker where they actually get a bunch of different people to send you a quote. So they're competing for your business. Once you decide on who offers the best rate and the best term, they will actually, then from there, they take care of everything. You have one point person with Policy Genius actually going and handling all the paperwork for you, telling you when you need to submit something, calling you if something's missing, sending someone to actually come do the medical exam at your house at a time that you choose. Like, it couldn't be less stressful. For more information, go to choosefi.com/policy. All right, this upcoming Monday, we got an interview scheduled with Financial Mechanic. It's another one of these episodes that we recorded. We're super excited about, but just held off a little bit longer with what was going on with COVID. But this is one of those more valuable episodes. It actually deals with salary negotiation. Imagine this equation, the equation of life. You've heard about us mention it on the show. It's what you make minus what you spend is equal to the difference or this gap. We can focus on earning more. We can focus on spending less, or we can focus on optimizing the difference. My personal bias is just to do all three. Not necessarily at the same time, but do all three. And this Monday, we're talking about earning more. This will be one of the most valuable episodes that you have listened to. If you're, just getting started in your career, this strategy is quite literally worth $1 million+ over your working lifetime. Make sure you stay tuned for that. I want to also issue a huge welcome to everybody that checked out our podcast from Overcast this week. I don't know what happened, but there were close to 100,000 of you that just said, hey, let me check out the Choosefi podcast. And I hope you're getting value from it. Certainly, if you're interested, go back, check out our first episode. Go to our website, choosefi.com/start. We've tried to put together a page for you to help offer as much value as possible and show you kind of what this community has to offer in terms of getting you to the point where working is optional. So just a huge welcome. The fire is spreading. We'll see you next time as we continue to go down the road less traveled.
You've been listening to Choosefi Radio Podcast, where we help middle-class America build wealth, one life hack at a time.